Welcome Kinders, it's Jessica the Story Witch, and this is a video for the A to Z of Modern Witchcraft series that I'm making on my channel. And this video is I for intention. I know that might seem like a kind of obvious, like everyone knows what intention is already, but actually I've seen a lot of kind of, maybe not misunderstanding, but different understandings of what intention is. And also you see a lot of like, all you need is intention, and other people saying no, you need intention but you also need like the particular tools and things as well. So those are the kind of things that I'm going to be talking about in this video. Definition of intention is, as a noun, a thing intended, an aim or plan, and they give synonyms as aim, purpose, intent, objective, object, goal, target, end, those sort of things. Okay, so that kind of seems kind of obvious, it's a target. Quite often when I see when people are asking questions and stuff about how they use their intention, what does it mean and things like that, it just basically means that when you are doing any kind of working, whether it's a ritual or you're doing spell work, even not so much meditation because that's like a little bit more open-ended, but if you're like doing astral journeying or something like that, then it is, in my opinion, all of this is of course in my opinion, it is essential to have an intention, a fixed intention and a specific intention. The interesting aspect of the word is when it's used in a medical sense, it actually means the healing of a wound, which I think is a really interesting kind of crossover from how we see it as kind of purpose, calculated, focused, something to aim for, a target, you know. And the origin of the word comes from Latin entende or intentio, which means stretching or purpose. So both of those I think is just, you know, it is that kind of stretching. It's moving from point A, where we are now, to point B, and your intention is how you're going to get there. So like I said, for if you're doing any kind of ritual or spell work or magical working or any kind of ceremony and things really as well, they should have a purpose, it should have an intention. What is the point of what you're doing? And I don't mean that in a kind of like, oh, what's the point? But there should be a focused, there's something that you're aiming to achieve with that. That can be something very yin, you know, the object of what you're doing could be relaxation, you know. The intention does not have to be an aggressive kind of cutting thing. It can also be self-care. It can be kind of more soft and what would be seen as kind of more yin, divine feminine kind of aspects. That does not mean that there's not intention, it just means that the goal might be more in something in a way of being rather than in a manner of doing. Does that make sense? I hope that does make sense. Another important thing about intention is that don't be vague. You do sometimes see people sort of say this or something better, or this or whatever the universe intends for me and things like that. And actually, I don't think that's a very wise, open-ended, or this or what the gods choose for me. Personally, I think that is too nebulous, and that is far more effective and straightforward to pin it down and be really specific. And that specificity, why can't I speak today? That specificity is important because if you aren't specific, other outcomes than the one you intended are possible. And to illustrate this, I've grabbed a book which I read a little while back now by a British author called Candy Gawley. Well, I say she's British, she's actually originally from, I can't remember, like an island somewhere, you know. It's, I can't remember where, somewhere in Asia, but she is based in the UK now. And in part of this story, this is not the main story that it's about, but this is a story that a grandmother in the story is telling to the protagonist in this story. So yeah, it's like a story within a story. One day a farmer came home from the market, all in a fluster. "Missus," he called to his old wife, "Missus, here at last is the answer to all our troubles." His wife emerged from their shabby little kitchen at once. "Oh my goodness, what is it? What have you got?" The farmer held out something small and wizened and black. And do you know what it was? It was a tiny hand, black as old tar, wrinkles scored all over its leathery skin like a map, with miniature broken black fingernails and a thick fringe of coarse black hair ringing the wrist. A monkey's paw. The woman jumped backwards. It was worse than stumbling upon a dead rat in the garden. "If you think this is funny, you foolish old man, you're mistaken," she cried. "Get rid of it at once." But the old man clutched the paw to his chest. His eyes gleamed. "No, I bought it from a merchant seaman at the market who swore that it had worked for him. It grants 3 wishes. The old woman groaned, silently saying a Hail Mary before asking, "Why are you such a sucker for these things? Who do you think you are, Jack and the Beanstalk?" But the old man just laughed. He held the ugly black thing up to the sky, closed his eyes and made his first wish. "I wish we had 5,000 pesos. His wife rolled her eyes and turned away, shaking her head. "I won't even ask how much you paid the merchant seaman. I've better things to do. Alberto will be home soon, desperate for his lunch. At least he will have done a good morning's work at the factory. Lucky he didn't take after his foolish father." The old man didn't reply. He just followed her to the kitchen, set the monkey's paw down on the table and sat down, his face alert, waiting. 10 minutes passed, 15 minutes, 20, nothing. The old man's head sank low on his shoulders. But then, as the rusty clock on the wall ticked past the hour, there was a knock at the door. He leapt to his feet, his face expectant, heaving a sigh of relief before he opened the door. But there was only a sweaty young man clad in the uniform of Alberto's factory. "Sir, are you Alberto's father?" The old man's wife hurried out of the kitchen. "What is it? What has happened?" she cried, knowing in her mother's heart that it had to be something terrible. "I am sorry, ma'am. Alberto fell into some cutting machinery. He was badly hurt." The young man couldn't hold their stricken gazes. He looked away. "Where is he? Which hospital?" the woman shouted, tearing off her apron, ready to go instantly to her son's side. "Ma'am, he is dead, ma'am." The 2 old people crumpled together as if suddenly someone had chopped away their legs, the woman keening like a stray cat. Her husband could only hold her in his own shaking arms. Tears appeared in the messenger's eyes. It was several moments before he could speak. "Ma'am, sir, I am sorry. Everyone at the factory is upset. We passed our hat around. We want to give you this." And he held out an envelope. The old man snatched the envelope from him, but even before he'd opened it, he knew what it contained. 5,000 pesos. And that is why intention is so important when we're doing any kind of magic, because when we are fixated on a specific outcome without kind of thinking about the possible ramifications of things, then something totally other than what we actually intended is possible. And I'm not saying this to kind of frighten anybody or make people think I will never do this, but to make people think before asking for money necessarily, you know. You could always ask for abundance, you know. There's definitely ways of phrasing things and of stating your intention which make it less possible for it to be misinterpreted, misunderstood, and so that the outcome is not the one that you intended. I was just going to grab my notes to just check whether I'd said what I wanted to say. And Mr. Owl was sitting on them. Say hello, Mr. Owl. Hello, Mr. Owl. I think I might vaguely have lost my mind today. Look how cute this is. My friend Sarah, she makes these, and she also makes gorgeous knitted goddesses and green men and fairies and mermaids. Oh, the mermaids are so gorgeous. So I'll link her shop down below as well, because I think he was obviously just trying to get in on the video. So once you have your intention kind of set, it needs to be brought into a form which is more concrete and which is more able to be worked with. So that is why people will often write it down. You know, that's the most kind of simple way on a piece of paper, or state it out loud, or make a sigil from it, or create an object which you've kind of infused with your intention. So any of those, all of those things are just a way of focusing the intention on a point. You know, it's like if you've got a kind of big mallet or something and you're trying to like bash a nail in, bash a wall, you'll just make a big mess. Whereas if you can focus that into one tiny little nail, then that easily penetrates through, you know. So that focus is really, really important. So it's intention, and it's focused intention. Lots of people also kind of get a little bit like misty about what the difference between will is and intention. And the way I see it is that will is our kind of our soul's purpose. It is what we are here to do in this life. So it is kind of, it's not so much our kind of conscious, I want to do this. It is it's more ingrained than that, you know. So yeah, it's less comprehensible to us, whereas intention is much more of a mental conscious focus. So that is kind of what the difference I see is. Also, people ask things like, how is it setting intentions different from setting wishes? When a lot of the like kind of moon manifestation stuff, some people will call it setting wishes, some people will call it setting intentions. So I see wishes as being more wishy-washy, I guess. You know, it's like kind of, oh, I hope this is going to happen, but it's not actually putting the focus there, which is going to turn that wish into something real. Whereas an intention is much more active, perhaps, it's much more likely to happen. I don't know who it was who said, but it's like that kind of goals are just dreams with deadlines. You know, it is that kind of intention is definitely more towards the kind of goal end of the spectrum than the wish end of the spectrum. Although it is still an intention, it is what we intend, is what we hope, and I guess wish in a way, but it's not kind of so fixed as this only specific. The means about which the way it can be brought about can be left a little bit more open, although obviously bearing in mind the story that I read you, and it goes on, you know, and things get even worse in that little story within a story that I shared with you. So you need to be focused, but you also need to allow for other options than maybe what we are kind of comprehending. That all does sound kind of a bit nebulous, and I hope this is not kind of like a pointless video. I just wanted to kind of bring people's focus onto intention, because it's almost like dismissed, you know, like, oh yeah, always set your intention, but people don't put the effort in, or the kind of they don't bring the focus behind it as much as they could do, and which will actually bring much better results if they do. Oh, and one last thing, very much related to that whole kind of wish and that sort of thing, is that I feel very much like books like The Secret and Law of Attraction and things like that have kind of hijacked the idea of intention, and it's like now all you've got to do is kind of meditate and connect with the unconscious, and all of a sudden things will happen in your life. And the reason it's so dangerous is because it's like got a layer of truth to it, but what it does is it kind of dissociates effort and doing things from the intention, which I don't think is helpful. And sometimes people don't even recognize when they're being offered opportunities, because they are literally waiting for the specific thing to be presented to them on a silver platter. So that is not helpful, I don't think. So it's much better to set your intention and then actually do things to bring it about. You know, like if your intention is to get a new awesome job, you've got to send out some applications. You know, you can't just sit in your house and hope that somebody's going to find you. it does happen for some people that it happens like that, but they are going to be the few and far between. The people who are getting stuck in and going out and applying for jobs, they are the ones who are going to be getting the jobs. The law of attraction is like, it is actually a thing, you know, that you can connect to that collective unconscious, and you can bring opportunities and things towards you when you become kind of aligned to that vibrational thing. But it is not helpful when you start kind of blaming people for like, oh, what you intended did not happen, you clearly weren't doing it right, you know, you're a bad attractor of the things that you need, you know, or you're stuck in some kind of like loop of attracting the wrong things towards you. So yeah, I don't think that's helpful, and I don't think as magical practitioners seeing the world that way is so helpful. You know, we believe in will, we believe that we can make things happen, and so we make things happen. I hope that hasn't just been like a complete ramble. I'm trying to do a few of these videos today for the series. So the next one's going to be Jay, and that'll be coming up soon. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and for sticking with me. If you've got any questions, then pop them down below in the comments and I'll try my best to answer them. Warmest blessings, and I will see you very soon.